गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Keno Upanishad part 4 and verse number 5 we saw last week, and towards the end of the fifth verse it was told nahi nirupadhikameva brahma manda buddhi bhi rakalayitum shakyam. It was told that this Brahma Upadesh which was done, those who are of dull intellect, those who are not able to suss out the unknowable and yet knowable, those who are mandabuddhi, dull-witted, those who are always objectifying everything, such are the dull-witted. The student in this Keno Upanishad was not dull-witted. He got one instruction that the truth is other than the known and the unknown, and he went and sat in the corner. We keep talking about it, you keep listening about it. See, we have to sit with it and be subjective. So, nirupadhikam eva brahma, that Brahma is nirupadhi. Nirupadhi means without any conditionings. And what are the conditionings? We have seen it many times, but we will keep repeating it till one day it clicks. And what are the conditionings? Space, time, and objectivity. These are the three conditionings. Just as space is not conditioned by any wall, space is not conditioned by any country, space is not conditioned by any planet or galaxy. Space is supporting all, expressing through all, and yet independent of all. Without space, the entire universe is not possible. And where have the air, fire, water, earth come from? They have come from the space only. See? Same way. Have you seen space? No, you have seen forms, you have seen objects, you have felt the air, you have felt the heat of fire, you have tasted the water, you have smelled the earth, but you have never experienced space, because space is nothing but absence of all objects. This needs to be reflected upon, contemplated upon. We are not here to prove whether space is there or not there. I have taken the example of the space to bring across a point that even though it is unknowable, yet we say there is space between two objects. We have never seen it, we have never touched it, we have never felt it, we have never tasted it, we have never smelt it, and yet we say there is space. Even subtler than that is this Brahman, Nirupadhika Brahman, Brahma. Even subtler than that. So, who is that Brahman? Is that space? Why do you call space as space? Because it accommodates everything. And where is space? When there is absence of object, you call it space. Where is Brahman? Is Brahman illuminating the world as well as the space? Yes. Where is it? Is it above the clouds? Is it in someone else? Is it inside the saints and sages, rishis, in the temples? So when you say that the space is known by someone, who is that person? Can that person be other than you? Can that person be other than you? No. So just as we saw this in detail last week, just as the eye cannot see itself, but you know it is there, exactly the same way, the subject I, when it contemplates on I, or or if there is no thoughts in the mind, the one who is illuminating the absence also, that I am. Someone is there who knows there is nothing there now. Who is that? That's the one. Recognize this. Brahman is the word. When it is coming to you, that same Brahman is called as Atma, and Brahman, the word for that pure consciousness, that reality, that Satta, that essence, is called Brahman with respect to the total universe. With respect to this body, it is called the Self. With respect to the total universe, it is called Brahman. See? And this, what was told here, the Adhyatmik, the Adi Bhaitik, Adi Daivik, all this, this is for this, the one who is not able to suss it out. So what to do for this Manda Buddhi? What to do? Can we leave a dull-witted one without any support, without any possibility of knowing the truth? Do we leave him at the mercy of the elements? Do we leave him without any solution? No. That is not the way our Sanatana Dharma works. Then towards that now the next verse comes. And what is that? क्या है? तद्ध तद्वनम नाम तद् वनम इत्युपासितव्यम स य एतदेवं वेदाभिहैनगं सर्वाणि भूतानि संवाञ्छन्ति. तद्ध तद्वनं नाम तद्वनम् इत्युपासितव्यं स य एतदेवं वेदाभिहैनगं सर्वाणि भूतानि संवाञ्छन्ति. It says, that this Brahma, tad means the Brahma, that this Brahma or that Brahma is tad vanam nama. It is known by the name Naman and Vanam, and Vanam means what? That which is worthy of worship. That alone is worthy of worship, and therefore it says that we can say it here. If you connect the last part of the fifth verse and the sixth verse beginning, that mand buddhi, that dull-witted person, he should take the name of the Lord, name of that reality. So here it says, say etadevam vedabhihainagang sarvani bhutani, tadvanam ityupasitavyam. Tadvanam, that which is worthy of worship, do upasana of that. So before it was given for a uttam adhikari, for the well prepared student, the adi bhautik, adi daivik, adhyatmik. Now it is given to the dull-witted one. So does it mean that, oh, if I am taking name of the Lord, am I a dull-witted person? No. अपनी औकात में रहो. Automatically you will understand as you keep chanting the name. So here, anyway, what it says here is that particular, that means tad, that which is worthy of worship, one must keep doing its upasana. And how you should do its upasana? By taking a name. What name do you take? Vanam. I'll explain as we go along. And those people, those who know him in this manner, all the bhut, all the elements in this creation. What are the elements? Space, air, fire, water, earth, all the gods, all the people, all the beings in this world, they know such a person very well. Who does the upasana, who does the upasana of that which is worthy of worship. This is the crux of the sixth verse. Now what Shankaracharya says here, he says, tad brahma kila tad vanam nama, that this Brahman, it certainly is tadvanam, with the name tadvanam. तस्य वनम तद्वनम तस्य प्राणिजातस्य प्रत्यगात्म भूतत्वाद वनम वननीयम संभजनीयम. तस्य वनम तद्वनम. So that is the definition. Tasya vanam tadvanam. That which is worthy of worship, that which is worthy of worship is tadvanam. Is called as tadvanam. In this manner, and here then he goes into the little bit of the grammar, but then he says, in other words, he tasya prani jatasya pratyag atmabhutatvad vanam vananiyam sambhajaniyam. Prani jatasya, all the various species, all the beings in all various species, pratyagaatma bhutatvad. He is the one who's expressing through all the beings. Just as the space is expressing through all the houses on this planet. It's the same space. You may call it and give it an address, because your attention is on the form, your attention is on the conditionings, your attention is not on the space. You cannot capture space. Exactly the same way here. So understand the definition. Prani jatasya pratyagatma bhutatvad. So that which is worthy of worship, what is it? It is that which is the which is expressing through, which is the atma of, which is the essence of all the living beings. Pratyagatma. Bhutatvad vanam vananiyam sambhajaniyam. And therefore, because it is the pratyagatma of everything and being, therefore it is vananiyam. Vananiyam, it is worthy of worship. It should be worshipped. It should be remembered. It should be done upasana of. Vananiyam. Sambhajaniyam, and do the bhajan. Sing his glory. Continuing. Ataha tadvanam namaha prakhyatam brahma tadvanam iti yataha. So also he is called as Tadvanam because the Brahma, the Brahman, not Brahma, Brahmaji, Brahman is also famous by the name Tadvanam. That is another reason. Tadvanam iti yataha tasmat tadvanam iti anenaiva gunabhidhanena upasitavyam chintaniyam. Therefore, tasmat, therefore, tadvanam iti anenaiva gunabhidhanena. This Brahman, which is beyond all conditionings, beyond all limitations. So that which is beyond all limitations and conditionings, which cannot be reached by the speech, which cannot be comprehended by the mind, which means no quality or attribute can stick to it. You see? So that which is beyond beyond all qualities, beyond all attributes, you do his upasana. For upasana, what is required? Some name or form is required, no? Without name and form, how will you do upasana? Upasana means upa asit, upa near, asana sit near. Sit near what? Sit near that Brahman. How can you sit near that Brahman who has got no qualities, no attributes, which is larger than the largest, which is everywhere, which is the pratyagatma of everything? All that is good, but you can't catch him. You can't catch him. So how do you sit near him? How do you sit near him? You sit near him by contemplating on him, by remembering him. That which is that which is beyond the comprehension of the mind, that which is beyond the comprehension of the mind should be contemplated by the mind. That which is the source of the mind should be contemplated by the mind. That because of which the mind is able to get activated, that is worthy of worship. And therefore mind must again and again and again and again contemplate on that which is beyond its jurisdiction, if you may say that. And why it should be? Because it is worthy of worship. And how? And here how it has to be? Either chant Om, chant Tadvanam. There are different names. Aham Brahmasmi. Who am I? Mind needs a support initially. Then alone it can come and sit. Otherwise it will go to sleep. So therefore, what is it? Tasmat tadvanam iti anena eva guna abhidhanena upasitavyam chintaniyam. Upasitavyam, come and sit near it, remember it, contemplate on it. Chintaniyam. Chintaniyam, contemplate on it. अनेन नाम्नोपासनस्य फलम आह स यः कश्चित् एतद् यथा उक्तं ब्रह्म एवं यथा उक्तगुणं वेद उपास्ते. By this name and the upasana which is done by this name. What name? Tadvanam. Here the word is taken as Tadvanam. You can take, we'll stick to the Upanishad, Tadvanam. Upasana done with this name Tadvanam. And why will you use Tadvanam? Because now you understand what Tadvanam means. Because Upanishad is telling you what is its meaning. There is not only one name, Satchid Anand, or there is not only one name, Om. Different ways, but different names. In fact, that which is infinite, all names are His only, no? All names are His. If you go to transcendental meditation, you must have heard of that. In transcendental meditation, they don't give you a mantra called Om or Om Namah Shivaya. They'll say chair. You keep chanting chair, 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 chair. Table, 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 table. This is what I have heard. So if anyone practices, tell me. So now, when upasana is done with this name, what will be the result? Because some contemplation should have a result, isn't it? Man expects a result. And what is the result? If you eat food, you want to be fulfilled. If you think of sleep, you want to go to sleep after thinking of sleep. You thought of coming to the satsang, you want to be entertained. And if I sit here, sit quiet, close your eyes and I put you to sleep. अरे यार अच्छा नींद आया था, better than at night. Then what is? It says that anyone who, here it says, phalam aha sa yah kaschid etad yathoktam brahma eva yathokta gunam veda upaste. Meaning, anyone, he who contemplates on that attributeless Brahman with some attributes. See, here it says, Yathokta Gunam Veda Upasate. He comes to know that infinite reality with some gunas. So what happens now? It has become Saguna Brahman. Before it was Nirgun Brahman. I think this topic I covered last week. Saguna and Nirgun. So Now, some some people like to think that way. It's okay, no problem. Continue. So he who contemplates on that attributeless, guna-free Brahman, uh, uh, along with certain along with the gunas, or he thinks that it must have some guna, what. And now we are seeing throughout our studies, we have seen in Vivek Chudamani, here, there, everywhere, who is Brahman, what is the reality. It is Satchidananda Swarup. But you come to Amrit Anubhav, what is done? Even that last bit which was inspiring you, oh, it is all existence, oh, it is all knowing, oh, it is ever blissful, that is also pulled away from your mind by saying that Sat word is used by your, is introduced to your mind only to cancel Asat. Chit is introduced to your mind only to cancel Achit. And Ananda word is introduced to your mind or to the seeker only to cancel Dukkham, to miseries. Because and what is the truth? What is the reality? What is the self? What is Brahman? That which is beyond Sat and Asat, Chit and Achit, beyond Anand and Dukkham. So you cannot stick like a postage stamp is stuck to an envelope. You cannot stick the word Sat to the Brahman, to the reality. It is beyond everything, transcendental to everything. And everything means where there is opposites is everything. अभिह एन उपास्ते अभिह एनम उपासकम सर्वाणि भूतानि अभिसंवाञ्छन्ति ह प्रार्थयन्त एव यथा ब्रह्म ब्रह्म. So the one who starts contemplating on that reality which is without any attributes, he starts contemplating on that Brahman with attributes, means Sagun Brahman. Then what happens? What is the phala of that? The phala is that all the beings of living beings, they start seeking out, hey, abhihayenam upasakam sarvani bhutani, the entire bhutas, entire bhuta means the entire creation, abhisammanchanti, and they all the beings, they start coming to remembering, seeking audience to fulfill their desires. This is what happens. They get attracted to him. Who? The one who does Sagun Brahma Upasana. So with a realized master also you do the same. And those who are Sagun Brahma Upasakas, that also you do the same. But here the realized master, like our Ramana Maharishi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, they never showed anything. Any of the siddhis, they never made a show of any of their powers. Why? Where are the powers? Where are the siddhis? They are a part and parcel of the creation. they are established in the Brahman. People may experience things, but they never came down to that level in order to express and invoke that siddhi and do betterment for the world. Imagine if Ramana Maharshi he is a realized master that time, when during independence, and he could have taken that knowledge, that abidance, that truth in which he is abiding. He would have taken with that disposition. He should have, if he had jumped into the freedom movement, what would have happened? Gandhiji would not be, we would not be reading about Gandhiji then, isn't it? But what happened? He did not. People asked him, why don't you go and take part in the freedom struggle? He said, I am also taking part in this freedom struggle. Gandhiji is making the country free, I am making you free of your ego. I am also in the freedom struggle. Freedom from I. Not from I, freedom of I. So that is the higher one. So when a person, whether contemplating on the Brahman with guna, with qualities, attributes, to him all the people come, all the beings come, wanting to fulfill their wishes. And now you see all those Mahatmas, all the Siddha Mahatmas, whether it be Akkalkot, whether it be Gora Kumbhar, whether it is Shirdi Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, only wishes. I want I don't have a child, I want a child. My business is not going well. Please bless me, excuse me. Please bless me so that my business goes well. So that my business goes well. I am having a backache, please touch my back so that my ache goes away. But ये इसी में लगे रहते हैं. And this is what happens when the teacher concludes with this statement that to such a person all the people come wishing to fulfill their wanting to get certain results in their life. Evam anushishtah shishya acharyam uvacha. Acharya uvacha. In this manner, having been instructed in this manner by the Acharya, the student, the disciple, there were many disciples sitting there. Remember, we are talking about only one who got it. He says, what does he say? This is the conclusion now in the 7th verse. Upanishadam bho ब्रूहित युक्ता त उपनिषद ब्राह्मी वाव त उपनिषदम अब्रूमेति. उपनिषदम भो ब्रूहिति उक्ता त उपनिषद ब्राह्मी वाव त उपनिषदम अब्रूमेति. The student said, what? Oh teacher, please tell me the Upanishad. The student said, oh teacher, all this is okay, but please tell me the Upanishad. The teacher said, Guru Maharaj said to him, that we have already told you the Upanishad. The student is waiting for the instruction. The teacher says that I have already given you the Upanishad. Now, so see here what if you understand it in this manner, which it will be wrong. What is that? That the that the that the student is asking the teacher, and the teacher has said that I have already spoken about Brahman, I have already spoken about the Upanishad, and the student is, if we think in this manner, that the student is wanting to know, is there anything more to be told? Is there anything more to be told? If we take it in this manner, then then our thinking is going the wrong way. Then how should we think? Here the teacher says that then why is the student asking again that please tell the Upanishad, Upanishadam bho bruhiti. Because if he is asking that the Upanishad, please tell me the Upanishad, then the Upanishad is incomplete if that question is put. But that is not so. So our approach, our understanding that the student is asking the question because he is thinking that the Upanishad is incomplete, please tell me, is there anything more? That is wrong. The teacher did not say anything. Teacher did not say in the previous verse that the Upanishad is complete. He just gave the instruction and came to a halt, came to a stop. He did not continue to say anything. It was the student who said. And therefore, the teacher, when the student asked in this way, then the teacher says to him that what? Ta Upanishadam abrumeti. Now he tells the foundation on which the Upanishad, the meaning of the Upanishad is established. So here it says, Upanishadam rahasyam yat chintyam bho bhagavan bruhiti. O Lord, O Guru Maharaj, O revered one, that which is worthy of contemplation. Upanishadam rahasyam yat chintyam. That which is worthy of contemplation. Or what is that which is worthy of contemplation in the Upanishad? That you tell us in this way. What is the secret in the Upanishad which is worthy of contemplation? Please tell us that. Please tell Bho Bhagavan Bruhiti. Please tell me, O Guru. Evam uktavati shishye ahacharya. When the student spoke in this manner, Acharya spoke. What did he say? Ukta abhita te tava Upanishad. We have already told you the Upanishad. We have already told you the Upanishad. Ka punah setyaha. What is that Upanishad? The teacher said, we have already told that Upanishad. What is that Upanishad? It is told, Brahmanaha Paramatmana इयं ब्राह्मीतां परमात्म विषयत्वात् अतीत विज्ञानस्य वाव एव ते उपनिषदम् अब्रूमेति उक्तामेव परमात्म विषयाम् उपनिषदम् अब्रूमेति अवधारयति उत्तरार्थम. He says, what is that Upanishad? So it is said, that what we have spoken to you, or the words that we have spoken to you, they are concerning Brahman alone. They are not concerning anything less than that or anything about the world. It was about Brahman alone. And what is Brahma? Brahma meaning that which concerns the Paramatma. That which concerns the Paramatma, that is, here it says, Paramatma Vishayatvad Vishayatvat Atita Vijnanasya. So we Paramatma Vishaya. So the topic was Paramatma, and that topic and that Paramatma alone is Brahman. Yeah. Because whatever, remember chapter 1 and when the question was asked and the teacher answered in rest of the chapter 1 and 2, third chapter was the story. So in chapter 1 and 2, in response to the question, so here the teacher is saying what? Atita Vijnanasya, the technology of contemplation which was told to you in the previous, beforehand. Atit means in the past, in the chapter 1 and 2. That was with regards to the Brahman alone. It was with regards to the Paramatma alone. It was with regards to the reality alone. So when the teacher student asked, what is that which, don't forget the original question of the Upanishad, what is that kene shitam, what is that which inspires the eyes, the ears, the pranas, the taste, the smell, the mind? And what did the teacher say? The eye of the eye. Come, know that to be the eye of the eye, the mind of the mind, the prana of the pranas. In this self-cancelling terminology, the instruction was given by the teacher. So these rest, when he says Vava evate upanishadam abrumeti uktam eva paramatma vishayam upanishadam abrumeti avadharayati uttarartham, that whatever I had told you before, that it is the eye of the eye, it is ear of the ear, it is the mind of the mind, it is the pranas of the pranas. Why there I did not use the word Brahman, there I did not use the word Paramatma, but it was referring to the Paramatma or the Brahman alone. When I told you avijanatam, that it is beyond the known and the unknown, that which is beyond the known and that is Brahman alone, which is beyond the known and the unknown. So I have told you the Upanishad. I did not use the word Brahman, but I gave you the Upanishad. Because see, we have been using the word Brahman only in Adi Shankaracharya commentary. In the proper Upanishad, the word has not has not been brought. Even in the story, the word Brahman was not said, it was said it is the Yaksha. Only when Uma, in the fourth chapter, when Uma tells the Indra, then she says, yeah, you know, when she's Uma tells Indra that is Brahma, because he asked, who is this Yaksha? She said, that is Brahma. There the word Brahma was introduced. But now it has to be connected. It has to be connected by the student. That whatever was told before the story, what we were referring to, which is beyond the known and the unknown, beyond all opposites, beyond the speech and beyond the mind, that is Brahman alone. And therefore he says what that uktam that I have told you the Upanishad concerning the Brahman. That is the teacher's conclusion here. उक्ताम एव परमात्म विषयाम उपनिषदम अब्रूमेति अवधारयति उत्तरार्थम. In response, he told that I have given you, told you the Upanishad with regards to Brahman. And then, so is when we are looking at Upanishad, when we are listening to Upanishad, when we are reading the Upanishad, when we are chanting the Upanishad, when we are in the satsang like this, is our attention on the information collection? Is our attention, while the satsang is going on, our attention is on the ear of the ears, on the eye of the eye, on the mind of the mind? What is that essence because of which the mind is functioning? What is that because of which the senses are functioning? What is that if taken out of this pot called body? Mind will stop functioning, all the five senses will stop functioning, all faculties will stop functioning. What is that? Check. Ramana Maharishi, when he saw the dead body passing by down on the street, he immediately came back to his bed and he played dead. And because what was his attention, what was his data with regards to death? Unmoving body. He did not know there is breath and there is no life in it. Yes. So he also laid dead. See, you are sitting there, I am sitting here, continuously the hand is moving, body is moving, leg is moving, continuously we are changing position. Sit still. Sit still, unmoving, unshifting, no trembling. Start with the body, come to the senses, then migrate to the mind. See? And in that moment of practicing dead, playing dead, he saw that he is not the body. Now the question was, then if I am not the body, then who am I? Then the journey began. Because caught its imagination of that young innocent boy, 13, 14-year-old. The world hasn't still caught him. Continuing Padbhashya, Paramatma Vishayam Upanishadam Shrutavataha Upanishadam Bho Bruhiti Pruchataha Shishyasya Ko Abhiprayaha. Here he says that what is the Abhipraya? Abhipraya that student who has already listened to the Upanishad, what could be the purpose that he asked? Please tell me the Upanishad now. Paramatma Vishayam Upanishadam Shrutavataha. Shrutavatama, having listened to the Upanishadam, Bho Bruhiti Pruchataha. Why did he ask? Pruchataha, ask. Shishyasya Pruchataha. Ko Abhipraya. What could be the reason? What could be the purpose? So here it says, Yadi tavat shrutasya prashnaha krutaha. If here, what is that? Yadi tavat shrutasya arthasya prashnaha krutaha tatah pishtapeshanavat पुनरुक्तोऽनर्थकः पुनः उक्तः अनर्थकः प्रश्नः स्यात्. It says, यदि, if he has asked this question, please tell me the Upanishad, having listened to the entire Upanishad and all the statements that were given, and he has sat down in one corner and sat in meditation, and he gave his his realization to the teacher. All that happened because he was listening, wasn't he? So could such a person ask this type of question because he understood what the teacher was telling? Then why is he asking? So here it says anarthakaha prashna syat. So it doesn't seem right, or it cannot be right that if he is asking the question with regards to what knowledge he has already received by hearing from his teacher, if he is asking the question that please repeat the same knowledge, this is nirarthaka or anarthaka. इसको बोलते हैं, इट्स जस्ट बाल की खाल निकालते हैं ना. बाल की खाल मतलब यू आर शेविंग, टेकिंग आउट द स्किन ऑफ द स्ट्रैंड ऑफ हेयर. बाल की खाल इंग्लिश में मजा नहीं आता. So is he trying to argue with the teacher? Is he trying to do bal ki khal? Is he questioning the teacher tell me the Upanishad with reference to everything that he has heard? Is he that stupid? Is he so dumb? He who has roared his realization after having listened to his teacher? Can't be, no? अथ सावशेष शेषः उक्त उपनिषत् स्यात् ततस्तस्याः फलवचनेन संहारः न युक्तः प्रेत्यास्माद् लोकाद् अमृता भवन्ति केनोपनिषद we saw that iti. So here he says that, and if his conclusion is that whatever has been said earlier, sa visheshah ukta upanishad syat. So whatever had been told before in the previous verses, it was incomplete. If it was incomplete, then it says, तो ततस्ततः तस्याः फलवचने न उपसंहारो न युक्तः, where it was said pretyat अस्मात् लोकाद् अमृता भवन्ति, that immortality is gained by going beyond these lokas. He would not have understood that. So the second option that is given, that if he thought those statements which were presented to him or told to him by the Guru Maharaj, they were incomplete and therefore he is asking. So first option was, is there anything more? It cannot be, because he has already heard and come to realize. Second option, is it that he is feeling that whatever has been said is incomplete? It cannot be also. So when this was told, that the result is that by knowing that one goes beyond all the lokas and they gain immortality, that was the conclusion. So that the Upanishad is incomplete. If we as seekers, if we think in this manner, but that is also not correct, because the teacher has already told that by knowing that Brahman, that is the conclusion. What is the upasamhar? Means the conclusion. Conclusion is, by knowing that Brahman, you go beyond the lokas. What is the lokas? Where there is coming and going. So conclusion is already presented. Immortality is already indicated. So the instructions that were given to the student are also not incomplete. Then तस्माद् उक्त उपनिषद शेष विषयः अपि प्रश्नः अनुपपन्न एव अनवशेषितत्वात्. Therefore, with regards to the story or the rest of the Upanishad, asking any question with regards to what has already been delivered by the teacher, any questioning with regards to that, it is what you call, it is not right, it is not possible, because in the instructions that were given to the student, nothing was left out. The Brahman the reality was clearly indicated. The instructions were complete. Instructions were complete. So nothing was missing in the Upanishad. Uh, so then the question is कः तर्हि अभिप्रायः प्रष्टुः इत्युच्यते. Then what could be the purpose of the student to ask this question? What could be the purpose? We have given you in the Bhashya, Adi Shankaracharya has given us two reasons, no? One was, is something more to be added? And the second was that Upanishad is not complete yet. Then he says, where are we? We are in the 7th verse, na? किम पूर्वोक्त उपनिषद शेषतया तत् सहकारी साधनांतर अपेक्षा अथ निरपेक्षा इव. First, whatever the Upanishad was given, he is meaning before the story. Before whatever the Upanishad was given, is there, we are still contemplating why the question is asked. We are trying to resolve the question. So Shankaracharya is only deliberating on that. Ki from our mind all doubt must go away. All angles he is approaching from. Was it that was it that the student was wanting some more, desiring to know some other techniques of contemplation on the Brahman? Is it that way? Or it has been, he has asked, please tell me the Upanishad now without any desire to know anything. That could be also one reason. He's just mentioning it out. Who? Adi Shankaracharya. सापेक्षा चेद अपेक्षित विषयाम उपनिषदम ब्रूहि. If it is with a desire, if it is here, the word that they have used is nirapeksha and sapeksha. So nirapeksha without any wish and sapeksha with a wish. So if it is when he says sapeksha ched apekshita vishayam upanishadam bruhi, if it is with sapeksha ched, if it is with a wish, then that which is beyond wishes, that which is beyond wishes, with regards to that you tell the Upanishad, because where is the wish? It is in the mind. Brahman is beyond the mind. So we can't. Is it that we have to wish for Brahman? Is it that we have to desire Brahman? We begin that way, isn't it? But is Brahman something to be desired? Is reality to be desired? Does it come by a wish that I want Brahman? Is it something to be obtained, gained? Or is it to be recognized as I without mind, meaning without thought? See? And this happens while you are listening. This doesn't happen by if you sit in contemplation, if the search is objective, you will not get there, because you are objectively searching it. But here the student is saying that with regards to the Upanishad you say something, or if ched avadharaya pippalad vannatah paramastiti evam abhiprayah, and if there is no wish of anyone, then pippalad, then like pippalad, see, there are other Upanishads where sometimes they conclude and the student asks another question and then it continues again, then again it concludes, again he says something, again the teacher's instructions continue. Whereas here, so he must have studied some Upanishad somewhere before. Remember, which Upanishad will click to us? We don't know. Which Upanishad will click to us? We don't know. So he is saying, O teacher, if you have completed that Upanishad and there are no more instructions to be given, then conclude, then say so. Then he says here that like Pippalad, that what you have told, that it is the eye of the eye, ear of the ear, you tell that nothing is beyond that. You tell that there is nothing beyond Brahman. You tell that reality, there is no one who can know the reality. That is the conclusion. That is the end point. That is all that there is. You put it in this manner. Is it like this? Is it wanting to hear these words from the teacher? The student is asking, please tell me the Upanishad. Remember, this is now fourth one, third or fourth option. So this could be the reason, abhipraya, the purpose of asking that question to the teacher. Then he says, etad upapannam acharyasya avadharana vachanam uktata upanishad iti. Therefore, the Acharya told him that the Uktata Upanishad, I have already told, Upanishad has been told, this conclusion, this concluding statement is correct. Nanu na avadharanam idam yataha anyad vaktavyam aha tasyai tapo, damaha ityadi. Nanu means the doubting Tom. Now, understand this whole detail that we are talking. This is like shaving the hair, strand of hair. This is looking at that one statement of the Upanishad. Upanishadambho bruhiti yuktata Upanishad brahmi vava ta Upanishadam abrumeti. On this one statement, because if it has been given in the Upanishad, it must be having a purpose, and that too towards the now only two more verses left. Then why is the student asking, please tell me the Upanishad? Is he gone mad? Is he crazy? Is he taking the teacher for a ride? Is he confused after realization? Or is he being smart in front of the teacher after being realized? Does he think that the teacher has given him incomplete knowledge? Does he think that something more needs to be added to whatever has been told to him? Or, where are we? Or is it like he has heard Upanishads before from his teacher, where Peppalad kept asking, what next? Tell me some more, tell me some more. Is the teacher has not said anything that it is concluded, so he is thinking, his purpose of asking that question could be that, like the other Upanishads, maybe there is something more to go on. So here Shankaracharya is himself, he is himself giving the answer, and he is himself making the question also, for our benefit, that these are the possible doubts that may appear when a person is diving into the Upanishad. Otherwise, that statement, this seventh, which verse was it? The seventh verse of the fourth part, it's not out of place. Like some people, they don't chant. They print also Bhagavad Gita without the first chapter. Why? Oh, how can there be Vishada Yoga? Yoga is always positive. How can it be crying yoga? Yoga of identity crisis. बेवकूफ है क्या? They think that way. They think they are smart. And they remove also certain verses. In some chapters, one or two places it's there. They remove that verse, thinking it is out of place. There is no connection with the previous verse, there is no connection with the after verse. See? So here the Shankaracharya says, Nanu, the doubt is presented. What? That when that whatever has been said for the to help us in the attainment of knowledge. Whatever has been said to us to help us in attainment of knowledge. So therefore, because tasyai tapo damaha ityadi anyad vaktavyam aha tasyai tapo damaha ityadi. So when it is said tasyai tapo damaha, all these words are used for what is tapa. Tapa means austerity. Dama means control of senses. Then karma is activity which is done without expectation of a result, that is karma. Then if you do them in that manner, if you do karma without expectation of a result, if you control your senses, if you live an austere life, a life of self discipline, a life of perseverance, a life of equanimity, a life of controlling your senses and your mind, then it is certainly going to benefit you to know the reality. Because all these, what do? They make you multi-pointed, and as long as you are multi-pointed, you can never come to know the reality. Then when we do these various when we do all these various practices that purifies our heart. So here the teacher says, Satyam Vaktam Uchyate Acharyena Na Tuktopanishad Sheshataya Tat Sahakari Sadhanantara Abhiprayena Va Kim tu Brahma Vidya Prapti Upayabhiprayena Vedaihi Tad Angaischa Sahapathena Samikarana Atapaha Prabhuti Nama. He says, yes, it's right. The Acharya it's going, we are going to lose if we go too much into this hair splitting logic and arguments that are given here. We are going to lose the plot of the whole Upanishad. But because we have to complete the Upanishad, I'm going to talk about it, and what is being told here is, in short, I'll just read it and then tell you in short. Nahi Vedanam Shikshadyanganam Cha Sakshat Brahma Vidya Sheshatvam Tat Sahakari Sadhanatvam Va Sambhavati. That when we practice this tapa, dama, shama, etc., it does purify our heart, and only then we can know the truth. That's why tapa, karma, dama, shama, etc. is said, as we have seen in another Upanishad and a story where Indra and Virochan had gone, and Virochan was told, they did tapa, karma, tapa, dama, everything they did, and then the truth, the Lord told them, you are not the body. Both of them did many 10,000 years of tapasya. You are not the body. Indra kept thinking, I am not the body. After so many thousands of years, and now he is saying that I am not the body. Virochan said, what? I am not the body. ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? Again they contemplated, they meditated, etc. But Virochan could not suss out that he is the Atma. He could not, because he was objectively searching. Who is Virochan? Virochan is grandson of Prahlad. Or no. Prahlad is grandson of Virochan. Something like that. Not Prahlad. Prahlad is son of Hiranyakashyap, no? Bali. King Bali, the one who is in the Patal Lok, who is protected by Lord Narayana, he is grandson of Virochan. Correct. So that Virochan He wanted to become the Indra, and the Indra also wanted to become Indra. So they have to go through the test. And when the test was done, Virochan gave up. He could not, after so many thousands of years of practice, he could not come to know the self. He could not bring his mind, make his mind free from body, breath, and mind. Whereas Indra, just like we saw in the previous story, there also Virochan goes back. He goes back to his old ways. He says, why should I waste my life like this? I don't think there is anything there. They are taking us for a ride. But Indra, because he has faith, he continues. Just like in the story in the 3rd chapter, he continues. He, even if there is nothing, he still continues to contemplate. Even there in that story. And eventually he is blessed. And the blessing is that he becomes the king of the mind. He becomes the Indra, the ruler of the Swarga, ruler of the heavens. See? And in this way, but they had to practice it many, many times. They had to do sadhana many, many times. See, just like, take for example, here I'm just going a little bit away from the, not really going away from the topic, but through this logic something has to come which we can practice. And what is that? Why tapa, dama, shama, etc. is required? See, reality, are you creating reality? Are you creating Brahman? Are you creating immortality? No. You are not creating immortality. When Ramana Maharshi experienced he is not the body, did he create it? No, that was his natural disposition. Then why, if he knows it that he is not the body, then why did he go to the Arunachala and meditate for 18 years? Why? You have listened to the Upanishads or the Vivek Chudamani, etc., etc. You have any doubt that you are the truth? No. Have you got the experience? Have you got the direct experience? Yes and no. Why? Between two thoughts, thousands and millions of times during the day, between two thoughts, you are realizing yourself. But you are not knowing it. You don't know how to recognize it. You don't have the staying power. You don't have the consistency, you don't have the capacity to stay between the two thoughts. Meaning, when you get into between the two thoughts, what is between two thoughts? Silence. You don't have the staying power to remain silent for a considerable period of time. So reality is not created. Reality is not found. Reality is. So people go into samadhi, they come to know that they are the one. But then if they know that they are the one, then when they come out, why they continue to take the world to be real and then again want to go and meditate? Why? So if they know they are the self, then why they want to go back into meditation? Because their vision has not become universal yet. That universality of experience, that everything, I have recognized the self in the body, but that this whole universe is nothing but that self, that has not happened yet. Then what is stopping us from If that is our natural state, then what is stopping us from being that? From being the infinite reality, the all pervasive reality, outside which there is nothing. It is all that there is. What is stopping us from being that? Our shortcomings in the mind. Knowledge can take place only in the mind, no? Self doesn't need self does not need realization. Self is already realized. Brahman doesn't need realization. It is all that there is. The world doesn't need realization because it is inert. Who is seeking? This mind. Who wants realization? This mind. What is the impediment between the mind and its essence? The wrong notions, the wrong convictions, the impurities of past, impurities of desire. How many are there? We don't know. Then what to do? Do the various practices of purification. So many times, many Mahatmas have known. It clicks. For some it clicks in the childhood, sometimes in teenage. Once they know that this is it, like many people get the God gives them darshan. Hanumanji comes or Ram comes or Krishna comes. Then after that, their whole life is transformed. They discipline their life, or they become hungry for that vision again. That becomes their journey. In that journey, what happens? They purify. See? So same thing. Realization is not the problem. Realization is the foregone conclusion of every one of us. Realization is not an object of experience. It is your natural state. And in one moment of great inspiration, we may put all our faculties together, energies together, become focused, become concentrated, and with that single pointedness of our mind and energies, we touch, we are one with ourselves. But that was only a moment. You were able to invoke. You became so focused. And if we have, with that, as a result of that focus and contemplation and realization or revelation, whatever you may call it, if that is not permanent, if that is not permanent, which means there is some impurity still there. Isn't it? So you know you have experienced something which was transcendental, that was divine. But your vision has, when you look into this world, look at the world, your vision has not transformed. Vision has not transformed means impurity is still there. Then what is required? Then take the name. Remember that infinite reality again and again. Do whatever is required 24/7. Our alertness has to be on purification, non-precipitation of any impressions, and non-expectation of any results, even on the seat of meditation. And doing these both with full vigor and inspiration and joy. That is what here in the 8th verse he is saying. So apart from studying the Upanishad, here he says, Nahi Vedanam Shikshadya Shikshadi Anganam Cha Sakshat Brahma Vidya Sheshatvam Tat Sahakari Sadhanatvam Va Sambhavati. That not only studying of the Vedas, chanting of the Veda mantras, but along with that, some sadhana is required. Whether you do Kundalini sadhana, Kriya Yoga sadhana, Pranayam sadhana, Nam Jap sadhana, some sadhana of purification is required. Then he says, Saha Pathitanam api. What is the time? It's time. So we'll continue next time. I brought in the summary suddenly in between so that you don't lose the plot. Otherwise, it's all this question, that answer, this argument, that is only going on. So we'll look at it again. Again, I'll recap it next week and we'll take it from there. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.